Jack Gindi, how are you?
I'm good, doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome
Yovel.
to yeah.
Yovel.
Well, that's our name. A lot of people get a hard time to pronounce that. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
welcome to the studio. I'm really happy to interview you. And I heard your story a little bit before we started the interview. And in Friday, we got really nice conversation about life.
Yes, we did. We did. It was an interesting conversation. Just being around that table, it was the first time for me to be at the City Club.
Nice.
So I really enjoyed it.
I think City Club is one of the most magical location in the world that people can come, be who they are, speak about everything, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the conversation at the table just seemed to flow. It was easy.
Yeah.
You know, it was a very welcoming environment, and I felt very comfortable there.
Yeah.
Really comfortable.
Yeah, so first is the first time I don't have producer, so I'm gonna produce the podcast in the same time we're gonna make the interview. It's like kind of breaking normal.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That's good. And this is my first time doing this. So I have never done this before.
Yeah.
So this is new for me. So I hope that, I hope that you can edit things if I
Yeah.
say something wrong.
I'm sure it's gonna be a great interview. You're a great
Okay.
person by yourself, and I'm sure it's gonna be interesting.
Okay. Well, I welcome it.
Yeah. So a lot of people does not know who you are, what you're doing, and what is your correct position in your life. Like, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, boy, that's a really big open-ended question.
I tried to do my best.
All right. Well, my name is Jack Gindi. I'm a 68-year-old man right now, father of 4 boys. I have 6 grandchildren.
Wow.
And married with the same woman that I met she was my high school sweetheart.
Okay.
So June we'll be married 50 years.
Nice.
And I have a story. I have a very interesting story of my life. I don't know how far back you want me to go and how much you want me to tell. But where I am today is that I'm kind of semi-retired. I was in the real estate world for many years. I was what you'd call a real estate syndicator. So I used to find opportunities, put together the money and the people to develop properties or redevelop properties or invest in them. And I would then manage it, run it, distribute cash flow and things like that. But I got out of that business in 2008-9
Okay.
when the market crashed.
Nice.
And then I kind of went into business with myself and 2 partners. One thing leads to another. I'm at a place, how far, I mean, do you want me to tell my story?
Yeah, I would love to. I get really interesting to listen to the story, and it's like people understand who you are for the beginning.
Okay. All right.
Then you open the business with 2 partners.
Yes, I didn't open a business with 2 partners. I went back into the real estate business acquiring property with 2 partners. But the story really started back when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
And I dropped out of school. And my dad took me to work with him.
Nice.
And I dropped out of school because I was introduced to marijuana. And I was smoking a lot of pot, you know, and I was not a very good student. I was a smart student. I was definitely top grades, but when you start to cut school, you're not going to get grades.
Yeah.
And so I was cutting school every single day. My dad took me out of school, put me to work with him, made it very tough on me. He had a little novelty shop in Queens on Steinway Street, a little 700 square foot shop. And then he would take me shopping with him to the Javits Center in New York City. And I would say, hey, Dad, you know, I think we can sell this vase or this glasses or this set of silverware. And he didn't sell any of that kind of stuff. But he would indulge me.
Okay.
And we would buy something. A long story short is inside of 5, maybe not even 10 years, less than 10 years, we took that little 700 square foot shop and turned it into a 10,000 square foot I'm going to call it like a Bed Bath & Beyond. We had everything for the home.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it became a very successful business. My dad had originally bought his little shop, the building, back in, I don't know, more than 50 some odd years ago for about, I don't know, $64,000. And over the years, it became more valuable. And when he wanted to retire and I wanted to expand, he said, "You got to buy me out." I said, "Fine." And I wanted to we occupy two buildings now, half his and half I rented from someone else. And the guy who I rented from wanted to sell his, and he wanted $1 million for it. And I went to my dad and I said, "I want to buy your building too, and I'll give you $1 million for it." So I bought both buildings for $2 million. And the great part of the story is for no money down. And the way that was done was I went to the banks and I was able to borrow 75% of the value of the buildings, $2 million, $1.5 million. And my dad had to take a second for $500,000 behind the first. So he basically loaned me the $500,000 and I paid him off over a period of 10 years.
Nice.
And so that was my entree into the real estate world.
Nice. This is like what showed you the first time the real estate?
That was the first time that was the first time to show me real estate, but as an owner-occupant. So I ran my business there. But then what happened was I was approached by KB Toys, which was a kind of I think they were a national chain or a regional chain of toy stores. And they wanted my space because it was a beautiful space on Steinway Street, a 50-foot front, and there were very few of them. And they made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
How much?
$300,000 a year rent, net rent.
It's like 30% of
back then in the 90s, early 90s or something. It was a lot of money. And I'm working my ass off to make that kind of money or less than that. You got a deal.
Yeah.
And so I moved my business out of the building. I rented something across the street. I reopened over there in a much smaller shop, and I rented it to them. Then I sold my shop to the people that were managing the store for me, and I moved to Colorado in 1994.
Nice. So before I will keep running on your story, I want to ask you two questions. First, what do you think your father did different in your education when you say, "I don't want to go to school anymore"? And he took you under his wings. You think it was the right move, the wrong move, and how you will respond if now, let's say one of your child will come to you at 15, "I don't want to be in school"?
That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that. Do I think it was the right move? Yeah, he took me out of school with the intention of making it so hard on me to go. He wanted me to go back to school. He didn't want to keep me out of school.
Yeah.
So that was not his intention. But I excelled with him. I recognized what people wanted. My dad taught me to listen. He taught me to listen to what people wanted. I remember being 15 years old, or 16, maybe 16 years old, selling a vase that I bought, that I said to him, "Let's try it." And we sold this thing for about $100. And at that moment, I said to myself, "Jack, you have a gift and you need to be doing something bigger than this." So I knew I didn't know where my life was going to go. But so I think it was a good thing in hindsight when I look at it, because he made me realize and recognize some of the talents that I believe I have. But he didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And if my sons didn't come to me. They all went to school. They all went to college. But if they didn't, I would say, "What's your passion? What is it that you want to do? Why wouldn't you want to go to school? What is it? Show me, tell me something, and maybe I can get behind it." My dad, I showed him. He never asked me, but I showed him that I had something other to do. I had something better to do, because he recognized in me, obviously, that I had a gift to understand what people wanted.
Yeah.
Because he never sold those things. When he took me to the shows, there wasn't something he would buy.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting story, and we developed a really great relationship from that.
Yeah. So now I will ask you another question. He took you under his wings, and he teach you how to sell, how to be a businessman. I think it's the most bigger picture.
Yeah.
What is the best thing that you learn from him about sales?
My dad, it was interesting. He used to keep a set of books, and it was on a little green binder. And every year, he would write the sales of the day, how many customers walked in, what the weather was like. He kept a chart of everything and how many customers walked that he sold to. And so what he taught me was to keep, to monitor where you are. And then once we hit a goal, he would set a new goal. So for instance, if let's say the goal of the day was to take in $100, and we said we'd look at last year, that day, what the weather was like, what things were like, and we took in $100 that day. So this year we got to take in $110. But when we reached the $110, he wasn't satisfied. He went and he said, okay, now it's $140, or now it's $200. So he taught me to recognize, to set goals, achieve your goals, and then go, okay, now what? So I think it's drive. He instilled in me a drive that I still to this day I live by, and that's why I'm 68 years old and kind of retired, but started a foundation and started this whole program that I'll talk to you about when we get to that. But yeah, so he instilled in me that
Nice.
that drive.
And you say that it teach you to listen.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's funny because my father, I think the first business lessons that he ever gave me, told me, listen, like try to listen. And when you are young, you think that you know everything, but you don't know how many you don't know.
right.
And like when I become older and I grow and you learn about life, about business. So I try to put myself a sentence that one of my friends once told me, Yovel, shut the fuck up and listen. That's the biggest important thing in the world, to shut the fuck up and listen. And every time that I try to speak with someone that I am in sales, you always want to say, you always want to speak, you always want to say something smart, but I always say to myself in my head, Yovel, shut the fuck up and listen. And then I give the best response in the world because I listen what the other people say.
Yeah, it's a challenge to do that. And I fall victim of not listening many times. And it's a reminder that I have to keep telling myself. So it's as natural as it should be, because I'm living 68 years, and that was what he taught me 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? You would think it'd become natural, but there was a time, life is a roller coaster ride. It's a whole set of peaks and valleys, And so in that process of peaks and valleys, I sometimes I forgot to listen. And those were the times that I got in trouble.
Yeah.
Those were the times that I fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's back to the time that you came to Colorado.
Yeah.
Why you got a reason to live? You live in New York?
I lived in New York. Yeah. Long Island, New York.
So why to leave New York? You got like 2 buildings, every building 300 grand, like you live in your dream. Why to come to Colorado, and especially to Boulder, that in that time was almost nothing?
Yeah. Well, that takes us into another part of the story.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of 6 kids.
Okay.
So I had 2 older brothers. There's 4 boys and 2 girls. 2 of my brothers were gay. And both of them, the first one, my brother Morty, passed away when he was 39 years old. I was maybe 30 or so, 31, somewhere, young 30s when he passed away. And he passed away from AIDS. And he contracted it at a time when we had no solution for it. That was first coming out. It was the outbreak. They didn't know, they didn't even call it that back then. And he passed pretty quickly from it. And then 7 years later, my brother Eddie contracted AIDS. Then they had started to come up with cocktails that prolonged his life a little, but he also passed at 39 years old. I was 37, 38. My brother's a year and a half older than me, so I was 37. And I had made this deal with KB, and I'm operating my store across the street, and I was in a position that I can do anything I want. I couldn't put my kids through college with the money I was making because I had a mortgage, so it wasn't netting 300 grand.
Okay.
But I was netting enough that I can get a start somewhere. I can go somewhere and talk to my wife and kids, and I was looking to leave New York. And I have this picture of my brother Morty standing on top of a mountain, and he's looking up at the heavens as his arms are down out by his sides. And when I went on a ski trip in 1992 to Colorado, I saw myself on that mountain looking at the world the way he did. And I'm going to cry. Give me a second.
It's okay.
But just felt I needed to change. Yeah, I needed to change. And so we came to Colorado. Like I said, I went on a ski trip in 1992 to Vail, and I knew then that I wanted to move. So I took my wife, and we came searching through Colorado, and a friend said, you got to go visit Boulder, and we did, and we immediately fell in love and came back 3-4 times. And I'll tell you a story about this little jewelry store right across the street from here. I walked in there, my son Sean, who just recently passed, and I'll tell you that story, but he had just pierced his ear, and she wanted to buy him a little earring. And so we walked into the jewelry store, and she found the earring, and it was like, I don't know, $17 or something like that. And I only had a $100 bill, and I asked her, I said, okay, you're paying for it. And she goes, oh, I don't have any change. But she says, wait a minute, you mind watching the store for me? I'm just going to go across the street and get change at the coffee shop. And I sat there in amazement that this woman in this city of Boulder would walk out of her jewelry store, leaving me there to go get change for me. She didn't tell me go get change. She trusted me enough to say, watch my store, I'm going to go get change. I found that remarkable.
Yeah.
And it was so appealing. And I said to Mary, I said, we got to move here. I love this environment. I love the people. I love that kind of, in New York, I didn't get that. Now, I love New Yorkers too. I'm a New Yorker, and there are many good qualities about them, but I didn't get that.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we came here in 1994, and my sister Francine, who lived in Arizona at the time, I was telling her that I'm moving to Boulder, and she goes, I'm not really doing what I want to do in Arizona. I'm going to come to Boulder as well. So she did, and we got into business together. Actually, the Ben & Jerry's on Pearl Street, that was our shop. We used to have Gindi's Pizzeria there.
Nice.
We sold that space. Well, I didn't own the building, but I owned the lease. I sold that lease to Ben & Jerry's.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to operate a pizzeria, and we did really well at it, but in the wintertime, it became a struggle. So we couldn't really make it work, and it didn't make sense. And I wasn't really making any money. I was, it just wasn't enough. I mean, I had income, but I had 4 boys I had to put through college. So making like $200 a week working in the shop wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
So I said to my sister, I can't do this. And we had another shop up on the hill as well. I said, you take it and you run with it, but I've got to go do something else.
And then you start to focus on the real estate?
Yeah. I met a guy here by the name of Shimon, Israeli guy, who used to operate a real estate brokerage company here. And we became friends.
Okay.
And I said to him, hey, Shimon, I'd like to buy into your business. I made him an offer to buy, because he had multifamily apartment complexes, and that was residual income, which is what I was looking for. I learned from my building in real estate. Hey, this is a great way to make money. Yeah. I love not having to work hard, really, like physically, like I used to in the retail world, and work in the real estate world.
Like passive income.
Yeah, passive income. So he said, Jack, go get a license first. This was in late 1995. Go get a license first and then come back to me and work with me. So January 1996, I knock on his door. Shimon, here's my license. I'm ready to go to work. And so he says, great. And he brings me up to his offices. He what's the 10-story building here? It's like the tallest building in Boulder on Walnut and something.
It's CU Boulder, no?
Well, not by CU, but it's right near here. I forgot the name of the building. But anyway, there's this beautiful building, and he used to rent space up there where Keyes Commercial Real Estate. Keyes is still
Jeff
here.
Key.
Jeff Keyes,
Great guy.
So he used to rent space inside of there. And he takes me up to the office and says, okay, here's your cubicle. He puts me in front of a desk like this with a cubicle. And I look at Shimon and I go, Shimon, this is not me. I can't do this, sitting in front of a cubicle. I said, I want that office over there. There was an empty office with beautiful windows to the flat irons. He says to me, Jack, that's $2,000 a month to rent that office. And I said, okay, I'll take it. I took the office and I came to work every day. And I'll tell you this little story, and it goes back to a core lesson I learned when I was in my 20s, but it's this 3 words, be, do, have. And I'll explain that to you in a minute. But I took that office and I showed up to work every day in a suit and tie in an environment where everybody's in T-shirts and jeans, as we were talking the other day. And it was about just feeling, for me, it was about feeling the success of being a successful real estate broker. It was about putting myself in the environment. Be, do, have is become it. So, and do is live as if you were already a successful real estate broker. So in my mind, I had a visual that what that looked like. And it looked like Jeffrey Keyes was a big influence because he came to work every day in a suit and tie.
Until this day.
Yeah. But not everybody else, but he did.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I go, he's one of the most successful brokers in Boulder. I'm going to do that. And so that's what I did. And that year, I brought in net commissions in the hundreds of thousands of dollars my first year. And that is from those 3 words: become it, do it, and you'll have it.
Nice.
So
that's inspiration.
it was, yeah. But that was something I learned when I was in my 20s.
Yeah. So I want to take you like a little bit more, like for a little bit different point of view. Now we speak about the success and the key, or this is your key for success. And I love that. But now I want to ask you about your biggest failure that you ever been through. How you felt there? Like now you failed, so how you stand up after fail again?
Yeah, that's a great question. My biggest failure was in 2006. I was at that time flying really high. Meaning that I had tons of projects going on, hundreds of millions of dollars of projects in the works. And I brought in a partner who became a dear friend of mine, a family friend. And I'm not going to go through the story of him and I right now, but long story short is it blew up. The partnership didn't last. And as a result of it, it caused a lot of conflict in the business. And at the same time, we had the 2008, 7, 8, 9 crisis. The financial markets crashed. And because of this conflict and that crash, it forced me to go into bankruptcy. So I lost my home. I lost my office building that I housed. I lost these hundreds of millions of dollars worth of property. I've lost $1 million plus a year of income to nothing, to zero. And the courts allowed me, I shouldn't say zero, the courts allowed me to draw $5,000 a month or something like that.
500?
5,000.
5,000.
60,000 a year
Yeah.
to live, to go rent a place. Now, I moved out of a 9,000 square foot home with a swimming pool and tennis courts on 2 acres of land here in Boulder. Today, that's a $5 million home.
Minimum.
Yeah. So that's what I lost. And so it was tough. And I went through a really deep, dark time for a short period of time. But I'm a big believer in faith. I'm very spiritual. And I learned this chant, a Kabbalah chant. And I would spend 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, praying to God to show me the way.
Wow.
To give me the strength to move forward, to put one foot in front of the other, to enlighten me with the ideas, to trust myself. I think there's a God within all of us. He lives inside all of us. And what we just have to hear what he's saying. And through that process, I made it out and put one foot in front of the other and made the decisions that were necessary to make, took the risks that were necessary, And I talked to you about be, do, have before.
Yeah.
Become it, do it, have it. So I couldn't survive on that kind of money, $60,000 that the court was allowing me to draw out of these properties when I was.
Especially when you lived.
No, it was just not going to happen for my wife and I. And so I went to my brother and a friend, and I borrowed a few $100,000. And I said, I need to borrow this money so that I can live at this level, so that I can feel this way, so that I can be this person. It was about feeling. It was about the energy that I needed to put out into the universe so that I get back what I want. I needed to put that out. And so I lived way above my means at that point because I was living on borrowed money. Borrowed I rented a beautiful condo from Tebow in the new building that he built.
Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen Tebow.
Amazing guy, yeah.
I rented a condo from him for $5,000 a month.
Wow.
Okay, to live in this beautiful place. I came from a beautiful place. I needed to feel that. I needed to be there so that I can think clearly, so that I can think the success. And I made it back. I made it back. And here I am today, successful again.
Now, so first, it's amazing. Most of the people that fail, it's hard to stand up again.
Yeah, because they put their head in the sand. Yeah. Because they're torn down, and it's and that's why I believe in myself. Yeah. That's why I'm involved in this organization. I created a foundation called the I Believe in Me Foundation, and that's how and that's why that exists today.
Yeah, I want now to talk with you about what you're doing right now. Correct. I heard you live in Mexico and you live in Boulder too, and like what you're doing right now in your life.
Right. So I'm not living in Boulder anymore. I live outside of Denver in Lakewood, Colorado, right near the Lakewood Country Club. I'm a golfer, so I live right around the corner from the club, and I love it there.
Nice.
And I live the other half a year. That's 6 months a year. And the other half a year, I live in Nuevo Vallarta, Mexico.
Okay.
And that's a place that I bought back in 2005, just prior to losing everything. So, and I was smart. Unbeknownst to me, I did this because of I didn't know Mexican law, and if God forbid something happened to my wife and myself, I did not want to have my Mexico property be caught up in probate or whatever. So immediately I gave it to my kids. So my kids own the condo in Mexico. Nice. So, but that was done in 2005, It's just the way that I did it. But going through bankruptcy, thank God I didn't lose that. Yeah. That was part of what we had. But so I live there half a year. I live here half a year. But in about 6-7 years ago, here I am. I made it back again. I made myself comfortable again. Not to the degree that I was before, but I decided, you know what? I don't need it anymore. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work that hard in that field anymore, and I don't want to take those risks. Yeah. I was able to accumulate enough that I can live comfortably, and that's where I got to. And so I was searching, and I found this guy, Garrett White, who created this program called Wake Up Warrior, and I became a student of his, if you will. And over the last several years, I've been following him. And long story short, I became a certified trainer in the Wake Up Warrior program. Not that I'm training people in it, but I'm taking pieces of what I learned from him and putting it into my new program today. And then my son Sean, over 20 years ago, introduced me to Mike Dooley. And Mike Dooley wrote a book called Infinite Possibilities. And then he developed a program where he was teaching people about infinite possibilities and then spread it out. And one day I get an email from him about becoming a certified trainer in the Infinite Possibilities program. And me on my journey of self-help since I was in my 20s, looking for ways to grow myself with LifeSpring I did then, and then Deepak Chopra, and then Bob Proctor, and then Wayne Dyer, and Tony Robbins, and you name it, Abraham and Esther, who speaks through Abraham, and
Yeah.
Landmark. I've done all this kind of stuff in search of just truer personal development. And so Mike taught me the Infinite Possibilities program. I became a trainer there. And then from there, there's this woman, Rebecca Sagoda, who took his program and developed it into a kids program called I Believe in Me.
Nice.
And I looked at her program because now I have grandchildren. And I was wanting to take this knowledge and share it with my grandchildren. So I became a trainer in that and started teaching kids about I Believe in Me. And as I was teaching kids and trying to schedule these programs online every week, the biggest problem I had was nailing them down, time. It was so hard to find the time where I can get all these kids together. So a light bulb went off in my head and said, put it online, Jack. Everybody's doing everything online today, right? Create a course where they can take it in their time. So I went out and hired developers and built the course, the I Believe in Me course, so kids can take it online. Then I went to, okay, now kids can take this course, but what happens after? So they take 7-week course, they're done, they learn about how their thoughts become things, they understand where their emotions come from and their belief systems and how to look at things from different perspectives. And we mold them and help them deal with their emotions and we call it's SEL, social and emotional learning. And we teach them about self-awareness and social awareness and being responsible people and how to take action. But I didn't want it to end there. So then I took what Garrett taught me in the Warrior Way, and we take it and I call it life mapping. It's keeping them involved on a weekly basis for as long as they want, forever, really.
Yeah.
And so what life mapping does in a very short period of time is it's taking a picture of where you are today, a vision, like a vision board, if you will, of where you want to be in the future, but we write it out. And we lay out a map of how to get there every 30 days with a daily activity every day. And I teach it in the 4 main areas, 4 pillars, we call it, of life. And the 4 pillars of life, L-I-F-E, life, L, meaning longevity, take care of your body. I, inner peace, take care of your being. F, family and friends, that's the balance in your life. And E, economics and education, that's the business part of life. So I teach kids body, being, balance, business, and we do something daily every day to balance your life out, to hit all 4 of those. And from that, you can sit here and create your life the way you want.
That's amazing.
That's what I'm doing now, and I find it's a passion of mine. And it's become more of a passion over the last 3 months since Sean passed away.
Yeah. So this is kind of the last question I want to ask you. First, we need to do a You Believe in Me podcast. So
yes. Okay.
Your next 6 months in Boulder, be ready.
Okay. Okay.
And I want to ask you about your son. I just 8 months ago arrived to USA after the war in Israel, and I saw a lot of my friends died, and a lot of people that I know lost their sons. I really feel again, when I joined the army, my father told me the nature of the war is the son bury the father, not the father bury the son. And I can't imagine, because I don't have children. I have maybe a puppy, but it's by far different. I want to ask you, like, how are you feeling, and how are you in that situation? What the advice you can give to other parents, and how are you moving forward?
It's a roller coaster, again, peaks and valleys, like I said. The drive that I have, the reason that I'm able to sit here and find the strength to talk about him and talk about you is on the day that he passed, November 20th. I had shared with you earlier that I do these posts every day, videos every day. And I did it every day for 244 days, I think it was, in a row, doing live videos promoting my program.
Yeah.
And but on that day, my subject was mourning. Don't make mourning your address, I said. I can't remember the exact words, but it was a post that I did on. But it was all about moving forward, building from pain, finding purpose in your pain, is what the words were, and that we need to build off of things that happen in our lives that are terrible. And I've had many, many terrible things happen in my life that we didn't touch upon yet, or may not touch upon this time. And but I've had a lot, and each one I've had to work my way out of. The latest being the bankruptcy, but it started when I was 8, 9 years old. So from there forward, there were many. But so when I read this book by Rabbi Sachs that talked about it, I decided to do a video post, and I posted to the world about doing that. That night, I learned that my son passed. When I made that video, he was already gone. He passed away about probably 10 o'clock that morning, 10:30 that morning. And I posted this around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So the next day or so, I didn't know how to move forward. I had to lean on what I said. I looked at what I said, and I'm going, I can't believe I just said this to the world. Now what am I going to do? And then on Friday, he passed on Wednesday. Friday morning, I was in Mexico. I had to fly back. We buried him on Friday. Friday morning, in my morning meditations, Sean came to me, and he told me, Dad, the I Believe in Me Foundation, the one that you created with the kids, that's all me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You didn't even talk to me about this. How is it all you? He says, Dad, it's all me. I'm the puppet master. You're the puppet. Thank you for doing everything you're doing. And I found it odd that this is what I'm feeling. This is the message that's being sent to me. This is the voice that I'm hearing. But at his funeral, I got up and my family talked, and I talked for a few minutes, and I mentioned this about Sean and the foundation, because most of the people know I created this foundation. And I said, from this moment forward, I'm dedicating the foundation to Sean. He told me it was his. And so I'm making it his. The next morning, we go to his condo. All my children, all my grandchildren, all their wives, we go to his condo, and we start looking for a note, a message, something. And my son opens up one of his journals. My son Sean used to write a lot in journals. He opens up his journal to the middle of the journal, and right there on the page that he opened it, he wrote in 2013, I want to transform the lives of kids. I want to give families an experience beyond anything they've ever thought possible. That's what the foundation is based on. That's what the foundation's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So he wasn't lying to me on Friday. He wrote that in 2013. So now that's what it's all about. Making it come true, building his legacy. Sean's. Yep.
And how is your wife?
She cries every morning. I used to cry every morning. I don't anymore. When I see pictures of him, when I look at the two of us together, yeah. But she's working through it. She's finding comfort in understanding that there's life beyond this life, and that there was life before this life. We are both believers in that. And so in that thought process, we find comfort. And Sean sends us signs all the time. He sends us these little messages. nighttime rainbows. I don't know if people follow Jack Gindi on Facebook. My Jack Gindi, because there's a lot of Jack Gindis, but Jack Gindi. I forgot how you find me, but you'll find me. Jack Gindi, Believe, Become, Be You. You'll find me.
I will put a link.
Yeah, they'll find me. You'll see pictures of the signs, because I take pictures of the signs that Sean sends us. My grandchildren, on December 28th, my wife's birthday, in Mexico, on the terrace of my condo, they're lined up 1 to 6, from the oldest to the youngest, looking up at the night sky. We're taking pictures of them because my daughter-in-laws bought these jerseys, number 1, number 2, 3, 4, and we had them lined up from the oldest to the youngest in their jerseys. So we were just trying to take a picture of the kids with their jerseys, thinking it was cute. When we look at the picture, there's this nighttime rainbow coming right across them.
Wow.
Never saw a nighttime rainbow. When I say a rainbow, not a color rainbow, but a gray and white and black rainbow. And it's so clear on the pictures that I posted on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing.
And so many other things that I've talked about. Yeah.
So my last question, it's what is the best advice that you can give for some young entrepreneur that in his beginning of his way, that you can, like, what you will say to younger version of yourself right now that start everything again?
If you're doing something you believe in, keep doing it. And don't let any kind of no stop you, because you're going to get them.
Yeah.
You're going to be turned down. You're going to be, people are just not going to get you sometimes. Just keep moving forward. Keep putting one step in front of the other, and keep an open mind to pivot if you need to. So I'm not saying don't believe in your dream, but the method, how you get there, isn't important. The how is nothing. We all get caught up, and so many people fail because they think they have to do it a certain way, and the how means nothing. Keep a clear intention of what you want. Feel it to be true. Put out that energy that you've already succeeded. Live as if it's true today.
Yeah.
So my message would be that. Live as if it's true today. You are successful. That business is a success. It is happening. And do the things you think you need to that need to be done. It won't happen by itself. So visions don't just manifest. They manifest when you take action. So I'm a big believer in manifestation, but it takes action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I learned a lot. Your story is incredible, and waiting to see you again when you're back to Boulder.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate this.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.